Story 1. My home state of Washington just passed a law requiring all clergy members to report any sexual abuse of children to the authorities, even if it is a statement made during confession. Now the Republican Party is suing Washington state over this ruling. They do not care about protecting children from sexual abuse or ensuring justice for children who have been sexually abused. Story 2. Conservative here. I did not vote for Donald Trump because he is everything we try to raise our children not to be. If he pardoned General Motors, it would be another unsurprising, despicable act. Story 3. A conservative friend of mine said she does not get into all this. She said, stuff. They are all bad anyway, and there is nothing we can do about it. Such disassociating whataboutisms are unbelievable. Story 4. Conservative here. If you are convicted of sex crimes involving children, you should never see the light of day again. I do not care how many people she helps convict. I strongly disagree with her actions, and if former President Donald Trump pardons her, I strongly disagree with him as well. Story 5. Conservative-leaning independent here. I would be absolutely disgusted, just like I am with everything else this person is doing. Edit. I cannot respond to all of you. To be clear, I have never voted for this man. I cannot stand the Make America Great Again movement, and I am not part of this lunacy. It has been nice to have polite political discussion for once and not to be completely berated for a difference of opinion, so I appreciate all of you for that. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody. Also, thank you for the award for this comment. I really appreciate your kindness. It made my day. Story 6. When I was younger, I was fully conservative in everything. As I have gotten older, I am basically smack dab in the middle with a slight lean towards being conservative. I did not vote for Donald Trump. If he pardons her, it is just the cherry on top. This situation is like a badly written Saturday Night Live sketch that became real life. We will have a red carpet rolled out and have aliens from space introduced to the world before we ever see the Epstein list. Story 7. I am conservative and spend time in conservative areas of the internet as well as on Reddit. I think you would be surprised by how many far-right-leaning people strongly dislike Trump's positions on Israel and the Epstein list. There is no doubt this would upset them all. Story 8. As a conservative, I might be the first to respond. I think this issue could be his downfall. Donald Trump has been able to shake off many accusations because few people outside of the Make America Great Again movement believe he is a good person. Like it or not, the majority of people who voted for Trump are not part of this movement. I did not vote for Trump because I thought he was a good person. I voted for him because I supported his policies. Now, I know this will trigger side comments about policies you disagree with, but I am here to offer an honest opinion about Trump and allegations related to a certain location. The reason I believe this could be his downfall is that a significant portion of the Make America Great Again movement seems to have focused on blaming only Democratic elites for wrongdoings there. They expected Trump to expose this without considering that Republican elites might also be involved. I think pardoning this individual will fracture much of the movement because there would be no justification for such an action unless it was covering something up. For conservatives outside of this movement, most do not care what happens to Trump. If he is involved in these allegations, then he should be held accountable like anyone else involved. I look forward to the reactions from those who emphasize their support for his policies. Story 9. I lean right. My already low respect for Donald Trump has declined over the past 2 months. This will just prove he was on that island. Release the files, child abuser. Story 10. Republican here. I don't think she should be pardoned at all. I don't know if there is a definitive list that directly implicates anyone in anything, but there may be. If there is, then they should all be held accountable, including the president. Story 11. If you want a real answer, he has already lost me. I was not as enthusiastic about voting for him in this election as in the past two. However, I think the Epstein files go beyond parties and politics. This should be a bipartisan issue, and the fact that they have not been released tells me that there are many people on both sides who are on this list. Him pardoning Maxwell would not really move the needle for me, as I already believe he is on the list along with many others. Presidents always seem to pardon people for personal gain. Story 12. Non-American conservative here. Donald Trump is a fascist, not a conservative. This is from the Vladimir Putin playbook, perverting justice for the personal benefit of the leader and his cult of personality. This is not the conservatism of Ronald Reagan, Stephen Harper, or Margaret Thatcher. Story 13. It is one thing to feel disgusted by it. Everyone is. The question is whether more than 80 million Americans who voted for him will choose to look the other way. My assumption is that it will be a 2 to 3 week news story and then it will die. That is just how it goes. Story 14. Rare conservative making an appearance on Reddit. I don't know if I captured all the feelings correctly, but I feel extremely frustrated, a little helpless and hopeless, yet at the same time determined to push for change if possible. It's a sad place when we are all aware that crazy and nasty things have happened, and due to manipulating the laws, people can get away with them. Edit. You guys do not want any civil dialogue. Damned if you do, damned if you don't, I guess. Story 15. They will change the rules again. This is the same group whose members started wearing diapers on the outside of their clothes in support when it was revealed that he regularly soils himself. They are not a reliable group. Story 16. Conservative or Make America Great Again? Make America Great Again will absolutely forgive and forget. I have already seen them start leaning that way in my personal life. I fully believe she will be pardoned, and Donald Trump will say it is because she committed no crime and there is no list. They will go along with it. Story 17. This thread will seem outdated in 6 months when you ask what they think of recently pardoned Maxwell being nominated for the Supreme Court of the United States. Story 18. Not a conservative or political, but I do like hypothetically creating narratives for each side. Donald Trump. We have proof that several top Democratic Party members were involved in Epstein Island. Joe Biden and Barack Obama were hiding this evidence, and the best administration ever is bringing it to light. They attempted to paint Ghislaine Maxwell as a villain, but in reality, she was just as much a victim as those young girls all those Democratic Party members abused. For her help, we will free this hero who has been wrongfully convicted, and we will put the true villains in jail. Boom. Conservatives can both defend Donald Trump and attack the Democratic Party. Maxwell is pardoned, and Donald Trump's Department of Justice can direct the prosecutions for at least the next 3 years, turning this weakness into a war cry against the disgusting pedophile Democratic Party members, where there is real evidence and real cases, instead of the fake news perpetrated by the Wall Street Journal and other liberal-run publications. Fake news supported by nothing factual, because who is actually being prosecuted? No Republican Party members on that list, only Democratic Party members. Donald Trump told you. Draining the swamp is an easy sell. Classic flipping the script. Donald Trump supporters are too entrenched. They'll grasp on to anything as long as it sort of makes sense. Otherwise, they were wrong. And to be fair, the left is not standing on the side with open arms, so they will be alone and without support. Nobody wants that. Story 19. If a crazy man is talking about a pardon, it has already been decided. This tells me she is not going to say anything. Story 20. Bro, when we asked for transparency, we meant show us the evidence. We did not mean to openly collude with the person you can bribe to say it was not you. I am so disappointed in the party and have been for decades. We used to be better than this, used to take the moral high ground, and actually be conservative. Now it is poor behavior, tantrums like children, and increasing the debt whenever the opportunity arises. Story 21. They do not care. Trump even said it himself. He could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and nothing would happen to him. The man was convicted of 34 felonies before being elected. He could literally admit to being a serial killer, a cannibal, and engaging in bestiality, and all his supporters would imitate him just to oppose their political opponents. Story 22. Seriously, how do you defend pardoning someone who was the right hand and purveyor of one of the most high-profile sex traffickers and minor rapists in America? How do you defend a pardon for that level of depravity and lack of humanity? Story 23. Why are conservatives being asked? There are very few conservative Trump supporters. I am a conservative, and nothing he is doing is conservative. He is pursuing extreme changes quickly that conflict with the Constitution. I have been wary of saying this before, but I have come to believe that most Trump supporters are extremists. Even if he were not involved in the Epstein documents, Trump has already admitted to, bragged about, or been convicted of crimes and behavior consistent with what you would expect to see in the Epstein files. I am convinced that even if we were to see the full truth, his supporters are too far gone to view the world rationally. Story 24. It will be total nonsense. Just like them not releasing the files, sorry, but everyone guilty regardless of party should be punished. Story 25. Trump has another option, which is commutation of her sentence. She gives Trump exoneration while implicating some prominent Democrats. Trump praises her for her cooperation and says, "She has suffered enough. You can count on it." Story 26. It is not conservatives or Donald Trump's base that we should be asking this. It is the millions of independents who voted for Donald Trump that we should be focusing on, since they are the most likely to be swayed. Story 27. What amazes me is that when asked, the only reasonable response is no. He just says he hasn't thought about it, but that he can. The fact that he can't just say no, "I will not pardon a sex trafficker," is unacceptable and should wake some people up. Story 28. They will not care. They spent so much time screaming, "Protect the children." But they will just continue to support Donald Trump and believe whatever he says. It is a cult. I cannot make sense of it. Story 29. Conservatives on Reddit. This Trump-Epstein situation is awful. Lock up the pedophiles and their enablers. Liberals. So then, do you now regret voting for him? Conservatives on Reddit. Absolutely not. Story 30. The woman was convicted of trafficking children for older men to exploit. Anyone who would be okay with him pardoning her is deeply disturbed. Story 31. They are going to pardon her and pay her off. It would be hard to say no if I were her. If you pretend none of this happened and keep your mouth shut, we will get you out of prison, wipe your record clean, and give you a few million for your troubles. Oh, almost forgot, pick whichever property you want. You get the penthouse. I would suddenly come down with dementia, unfortunately. That's probably what will happen. It's horrible, unfathomable, disgraceful, and inhumane. There are not enough hateful comments to post here. I think it's only a matter of time before this information gets leaked, and it will blow up in their faces. Story 32. Conservative but not make America great again. I would be furious if he pardoned her. Maxwell and Trump are both predators and deserve to rot in prison. Story 33. Trump is by far the most transactional president in recent history. The premise of the question implies that she would be pardoned for nothing in return, but that is an absurd proposal that will never happen, so of course the reaction would be equally absurd. More likely, if she receives anything at all, it would be a plea agreement to shorten her jail time in exchange for testimony that leads to other convictions. In this hypothetical, her release is entirely conditional on her testimony leading to convictions, so a pound of flesh has been obtained, if not many more pounds. This is standard procedure that the justice system handles every day with people you have never heard of in the news. I expect it to be insignificant with respect to Maxwell, but potentially significant depending on who is implicated. Story 34. Honestly, it is about time they actually turned on him. Also, I am happy they care about something. My God, it is about time. Story 35. His supporters will let him get away with anything as long as he keeps his promise to deport, torture, and abuse everyone they hate. It is disturbing how much of a difficult situation the United States of America is facing now. Story 36. Trump is asking her to provide a list that will include every political enemy of his you can think of, then pardon her. She met with his personal fixer, who is also a federal attorney, behind closed doors yesterday. Story 37. I think we all know it would change exactly nothing. He said he could shoot someone in the middle of Times Square and not lose his supporters. And at this point I believe it. Story 38. It would actually be bad for Donald Trump. When you get pardoned, you give up your Fifth Amendment right. That means if Ghislaine Maxwell is asked to testify against Donald Trump, she cannot refuse. Story 39. I would hate him even more. I already feel betrayed because of the bombing in Iran and the Epstein list. Story 40. Right-leaning Canadian. Individuals who commit crimes against children should face severe consequences and be held accountable regardless of their social status or position of power. Protection of children is paramount. Story 41. I am an actual conservative, and in only one scenario would I be okay with it. If her testifying provided the evidence needed to take down the entire ring, the whole pedophile ring, including John's madams and traffickers, then I guess one of them can be pardoned. However, as a human being with eyes and a brain, I know that will never happen. She will be pardoned by saying Donnie was never involved, and nothing else will ever happen. Story 42. The question should have been Republican voters of Reddit. Because Republicans and their supporters are not conservatives. They are their own breed unto themselves. Story 43. I am going to run for president of the United States, and my entire campaign will be focused on releasing the Epstein files on the day I take office. We know why the files have not been released, because he is involved, along with many other powerful people. Story 44. This is shaping up to be Donald Trump's version of the night of the long knife stage of Adolf Hitler's ascension. Story 45. Not a conservative, and though it would disgust me, let him do it. Maybe finally he will feel something resembling consequences just once. Leave one of the heads on the Hydra so we can destroy it at the knees and bring it down from there. Where will she go anyway, I wonder? Does she have money? At least she would live her final years in fear. Story 46. They will dutifully express their fake outrage and then go right back to voting Republican right down the line in every future election. Story 47. Betrayed. No pardon for sex offenders. She had her chance to expose everyone earlier. She did not have to be part of it. But because of power, money, and glory, she persisted, and now she is paying the consequences. Rot in jail. Story 48. Pardons Maxwell? If I had a death pool, she would be at the top of my list. Do you really think the Clintons and Donald Trump will allow her to speak? Story 49. Conservative here. I would feel betrayed. I did not vote for Donald Trump. He does not care about this country. I hope the party can recover. But clearly, if he pardons her, it is another terrible act. Story 50. She is going to trip and fall out of a building not long after she gets out. I think she is in a lose-lose situation. Story 51. They will act like they care for a week, then fully support him. Like they did with January 6th, making fun of John McCain, saying he wanted to be a dictator, posting that we should suspend the Constitution, and so on. Story 52. If she receives a pardon and people are arrested, and she gives up, that would be livable, but we know how this will go. Story 53. My MAGA neighbor loudly got into an argument with another Trump supporter who was questioning them about all the rape convictions, and what if he did actually assault children? The loud and proud response was that he did not care, the women were probably asking for it, and he would support Donald Trump no matter what. Story 54. It's like Lucy and the football every day with us liberals. First, conservatives will tell you he won't, and if he does, they will abandon him. Then he will do it, and they will say it was the right thing to do and what they always wanted and voted for. The same applies to us with the deficit, Medicare, and many other issues. It's a cult. They will support the leader, drink the Kool-Aid, and force-feed it to you too. Story 55. I would be furious and suspect he is on the list. I am a Republican, not a supporter of former President Trump. I am an American before being a Republican. Story 56. I have a friend who voted for Donald Trump and has turned against him, not only because of the Epstein files, but mostly for that reason. He had a conversation with another friend, both of whom are veterans, who was very excited because Trump got Barack Obama. When my friend asked him about the Epstein files, the man replied, Trump said they don't exist. Therefore, they don't. Arguing led to my friend being blocked. Sadly, it is not going to matter to many of them. They worship the Teflon Don and believe everything he says. Story 57. Do you mean conservatives or Trump supporters? Trump has done basically nothing to align with conservative values, from stimulus checks to increasing the deficit, so nobody who is actually conservative supports him. But if we are talking about Trump supporters, people who currently support Donald Trump, then he could get up on stage in front of all of them and commit a terrible act, and they would still watch Newsmax the next day as the anchor labels the victim negatively, and they would still support him. Story 58. Have you not yet learned that when you address conservatives, they do not answer, but you get dozens or even hundreds of liberals telling you what conservatives think. Story 59. Feel nothing because I have already learned he is a terrible president and a top-level con artist. I wish we had a reliable third party or that Democrats would do better connecting with young men like myself. Edit. My politics probably align well with 2008 Barack Obama. Other than the economic crisis, take me back to the days of less social media, no expectation of being politically correct, and children's books not containing LGBT themes. By 2008 standards, Obama would be a moderate Republican by today's standards. Story 60. I have lost hope in our leaders to hold those responsible accountable. No one was held accountable for the crash of 2007 to 2008 between two presidents from different parties. If he pardons Ghislaine, I will not be surprised. If you are reading this, no matter who you vote for, we are all the same class. It is citizens versus the government, not Republican versus Democrat, liberal versus conservative, or white versus black. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.